Today is the 23rd of December 2021, and it's just about 7 days until the end of this calendar year. We see that the days and nights are constantly passing, rising and ceasing like this. And the Buddha taught that we should contemplate this all the time, that the days and nights are constantly passing by. What are we doing with our time? And children go to school, those that are older go to work. But looking more deeply, we see that what are we doing with our time means, are we doing acts of goodness and merit, or are we doing acts of demerit? If we're doing unskillful, demeritorious acts, we should try to abandon these acts and cut them off. But if we're doing goodness, then we try to care for that and cultivate that. Because we see that these lives of ours are uncertain. Today a group from Australia came to visit, and one of the visitors, their husband had died earlier this year, and she was sad. Even she cried when she spoke about it. And so we see that this is separation from the loved. All that we love and care for in this world, we have to separate from that. This is something we should contemplate again and again. Contemplate that the days and nights are constantly passing by, that we must be separated from all that which we love. Whatever we love or like, whatever it is, we have to be separated from it. So if we cling to it, then we'll suffer. And of the Four Noble Truths, the first truth is that of suffering, of dukkha. And this dukkha arises because of clinging. So if we don't prepare ourselves well, then we get separated from the loved inevitably, and we suffer. So we take a look at our own lives, look at ourselves, and see the importance of the physical body, the importance that we give to it. We see that the body has this breath, and it's able to live because of the breath. So this body that we have is not anything lasting or stable. Tomorrow, next month, next year, what will happen, we don't know. There are many people that we know in our lives that are healthy, 18 or 20 years old, and they can meet with misfortune. Or those 50 years old, their body is degrading, the cells are degrading, and it's possible for a strong illness to arise in that situation. Or someone 60 years old, they may have an illness come back from when they were 50, for example, and that illness can come back when they're 60. So we see that it's uncertain. We can't be heedless. We see that this is the final teaching of the Lord Buddha, to perfect oneself in heedfulness. So, thinking in a heedless way, we think that we won't age, we won't sicken, we won't die. And so we have heedlessness with regard to old age, sickness, and death. But the way we should think is that life is something uncertain, death is certain. We should think this often. There was one senior monk who thought of death 7 times a day. So we should look in a day, how many times do we think of death? And this monk was a stream enter, a Sotapanna. He had a lot of work, and he was able to remember all the Buddha's teachings as well. He had the duty to attend to the Buddha and receive visitors and so on. But he was able to think of death regularly. For instance, thinking of death in the morning, the late morning, before noon, afternoon, in the evening, in the nighttime, and in the late evening. So about 7 times a day. But the Buddha said that this is too little. One should think of death more. For instance, the Tathagata thinks of death with every in and out breath. So for ourselves, we should recollect death at least some of the time. We have this breath, and we think that with every breath our life passes. And with the coming of the new year as well, we think, what do we have that's new in our life? Because in thinking in the way of Dhamma, our life is past 1 year. We could look at it as passing 1 day, 1 month. It passes by like this, half a year, 1 year. In whatever time span we think of, that amount of time is how much shorter our life is. For instance, if we think that we'll live to 80 years old, we should think, well, given our current age, how much time do we have left? So may you contemplate this all the time in order to not be heedless, in order to cultivate merit, to do merit like generosity, chanting, walking and sitting meditation, to train your mind to do this a lot, to cultivate this a lot. Because all things are impermanent, all material things and mental phenomena. So we can't cling to any of them as self. And the mind without wisdom just suffers ongoingly. We don't have to wait for the next life or wait for some future time. But we see that the present moment is continuous suffering, because all things are dukkha, suffering. So may you practice and contemplate a lot. Reflect that the days and nights are constantly passing by and not to be heedless. Often when people are young, that they're heedless, but contemplate that it's uncertain. Whether one is young or old, it's still uncertain all the same. If one is strong and healthy, that's uncertain as well. There are many who are maybe strong or young and so on, but they meet with pain and suffering and death all the same. So these sankharas, these conditioned formations, we can't trust them. Rinpoche gave a simile, compared it to like leaning on a rotten stump. The stump is rotten, so if we lean on it, then it can easily collapse at any time. And so we shouldn't lean on it. Or it's like a railing on the second floor of a building, a railing that's not strong. So we lean on it and it breaks apart and we fall. So it's a dangerous situation. So we can't lean on these bodies of ours. We can't rely on them. There was one great elder who had the Dhamma arise in his heart, that there's no one in charge of the world, but the world's in charge of itself. And when one leaves the world, one must leave everything behind. One must throw everything away in the end. Whatever it is that one has, all that one has, one must throw away. And we can see that those who die, what do they take with them when they die? And so we see the mind with ignorance, craving, and attachment just clings and attaches continuously like this. So we have to practice and train our hearts. We listen to the Dhamma and we put the teachings into practice to see all things as impermanent. They don't last. They're not self. To make our hearts Buddha. So may you have effort and perseverance in this. Don't give up. May you all bring your minds to peace and collectedness and contemplate the body to understand and see it clearly, to give rise to knowing in the heart, which makes the heart bright and radiant, a heart with rapture and happiness. So may you be well established in generosity and virtue, and practice meditation to see the Dhamma clearly according to various levels. And however it is, in the end, you can attain the Dhamma. So may you set your hearts on this practice.